The world's eyes are on Alaska, a land of stark beauty and strategic importance. The US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet here face-to-face for the first time after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This highly anticipated encounter marks a pivotal moment in international relations, a chance to de-escalate tensions and potentially reshape the global order. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a breakthrough. After 3.5 years of devastating war in Ukraine, the conflict has not only caused immense human suffering, but has also destabilized the region and created deep divisions within the international community. The scars of war are visible in the bombed-out buildings and the faces of displaced civilians. This is no routine summit. It's a critical juncture. The weight of the world rests on the shoulders of the US leader as he navigates complex geopolitical challenges. The outcome of this meeting could determine the fate of millions and the future of international peace and security. Its primary goal is to find a path to end a conflict that has already devastated millions of lives, leaving behind a trail of destruction and displacement. Families have been torn apart, communities shattered, and the long-term consequences of the war will be felt for generations to come, and fundamentally redrawn global alliances, forcing nations to reassess their positions and forge new partnerships. The war has exposed vulnerabilities in the existing international system and highlighted the need for greater cooperation and diplomacy. Alaska, strategically chosen as neutral ground, a place far removed from the immediate tensions, symbolizes a fresh start and an opportunity for open dialogue. Its remoteness offers a sense of isolation, allowing leaders to focus on the critical issues at hand without external distractions. Highlights the gravity of the moment. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, as peace or a dangerous escalation could hinge on what happens here within these crucial hours. Every word, every gesture will be scrutinized for signs of progress or potential setbacks. Trump, ever the showman and unconventional diplomat, promises a breakthrough, confident in his ability to negotiate a favorable outcome. He sees this summit as an opportunity to demonstrate his leadership on the world stage and deliver on his promises to the American people. While Putin seeks to cement his gains in the region and force the West to accept a new reality, one where Russia's interests are respected and its influence is acknowledged. He comes to the table with a clear set of objectives and a determination to achieve them. For Trump, this summit presents a significant chance to fulfill his long-standing pledge to end this war and shift America's interest to the Indo-Pacific. He views the conflict in Ukraine as a drain on American resources and a distraction from domestic priorities. He wants to prove his deal-making prowess, showcasing his ability to navigate complex international relations and secure agreements that benefit the United States. He believes his unique approach to diplomacy can achieve results where others have failed. This is the first Trump-Putin meeting since 2019, a considerable gap that reflects the deterioration of relations between the two countries. Much has changed since their last encounter, and the stakes are now significantly higher. Underscoring the deep freeze in relations since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a period marked by escalating tensions, sanctions, and diplomatic isolation, the road to rebuilding trust will be long and arduous. The war has united much of the world in condemnation of Russia's actions, forging a broad international coalition committed to upholding the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. Sanctions have been imposed and diplomatic pressure has been applied to isolate Russia, but divided it sharply on the best solutions to resolve the conflict, with differing perspectives on the role of diplomacy, sanctions, and military aid. Finding common ground among these diverse viewpoints will be essential for achieving a lasting peace. The summit could potentially spark a genuine peace process, offering a glimmer of hope for a negotiated settlement and an end to the bloodshed. A breakthrough could pave the way for further talks and a gradual de-escalation of the conflict. Or conversely, trigger a new, even more dangerous phase of the conflict if talks collapse, leading to further escalation and potentially drawing in other actors. The risks are high, and the consequences of failure could be catastrophic. The core question that hangs in the balance: can two leaders with such fundamentally opposing goals and worldviews find sufficient common ground to de-escalate the conflict? The answer to this question will determine the future of Ukraine and the stability of the international order. On critical issues of territory, security guarantees, and the lifting of economic sanctions, these are the key sticking points that must be addressed if any progress is to be made. Compromise and flexibility will be essential on both sides. The world waits with bated breath, hoping for a breakthrough that leads to lasting peace, but bracing for the possibility of more conflict and uncertainty. The outcome of this summit will have far-reaching consequences for global security and stability. The Alaska summit follows 4 years of brutal war in Ukraine, a conflict that began with Russia's failed blitz on Kyiv and devolved into a grinding stalemate. Ukrainian resistance, backed by Western aid, turned the tide but at a staggering human cost. Cities destroyed, millions displaced, and hundreds of thousands dead. Trench warfare and high-tech weapons have scarred the land, while sanctions have battered Russia's economy. Diplomatic efforts have failed, with both sides entrenched. Ukraine demands full restoration of its borders. Russia refuses to relinquish occupied territories. Exhaustion is setting in, but neither side is ready to concede. Into this deadlock step Trump and Putin, each hoping to break the impasse to their own advantage. Putin arrives in Alaska with firm demands. Ukraine must cede the entire Donbas region, and all Western sanctions on Russia must be lifted. He wants $300 billion in frozen Russian assets returned and constitutional guarantees for Russian language and culture in Ukraine. Moscow insists Ukraine remain neutral, never joining NATO, and seeks to cripple its military. While regime change in Kiev is off the table, Russia's core goal is a weakened, buffer Ukraine. Putin sees Trump's willingness to negotiate as a chance to lock in these gains. President Zelensky's response is resolute. Ukraine will not surrender territory or sovereignty. The Ukrainian constitution forbids ceding land, and public sentiment is fiercely against any concessions. Zelensky's peace plan demands full Russian withdrawal, including Crimea, and justice for war crimes. Ukraine insists on security guarantees and rejects any deal made without its direct involvement. The principle is clear: nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. For Ukrainians, peace must be just, not dictated by the aggressor. Zelensky faces immense pressure to settle but cannot betray the sacrifices of his people. Trump enters the summit not as a seasoned diplomat, but as a self-styled dealmaker, a figure accustomed to the cut and thrust of high-stakes negotiations in the business world. He approaches international relations with the same mindset, viewing complex geopolitical challenges as simply another deal to be made. He's known for using ultimatums and shifting deadlines, tactics designed to pressure both sides into concessions. This approach, while common in business, raises eyebrows in diplomatic circles where nuance and long-term relationships are typically valued over immediate gains. The pressure is palpable. The stakes are incredibly high. One idea he's floated is the concept of a territory swap, a proposal that has stirred considerable controversy and debate. The proposition suggests Ukraine cedes some land, potentially areas currently under Russian control, in exchange for Russia returning other areas, perhaps territories of lesser strategic importance. The aim is to break the deadlock and find a path towards a resolution, but the devil is truly in the details. This approach clashes sharply with Ukraine's and Europe's stated positions, and their insistence on the principle of inviolable borders, a cornerstone of international law and the post-World War II order. Any alteration of borders by force is seen as a direct threat to this principle. In a move that surprised many, Trump dropped his previous precondition that Putin meet with Zelensky first, a symbolic gesture of recognition and engagement. This decision signaled that he was prioritizing a deal, any deal, over the established diplomatic process and protocols. Critics warn that Trump's singular focus on achieving a quick deal, regardless of the consequences, could ultimately pressure Ukraine into accepting an unjust peace agreement, effectively rewarding aggression and setting a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. However, his supporters argue that only such bold and unconventional moves have the potential to break the stalemate and finally end the bloodshed. The summit itself is a crucial test of Trump's high-risk, high-reward strategy, a strategic gamble with potentially far-reaching consequences for the region and the global order. The question remains, can his unconventional and often unpredictable style of diplomacy deliver a breakthrough where traditional diplomatic efforts have repeatedly failed? Or will it inadvertently set a dangerous precedent, legitimizing the use of force to change borders and undermining the principles of territorial integrity and international law? The world is nervously watching, keenly aware that the outcome of this summit will have profound implications. To see if Trump's gamble ultimately pays off, or if it backfires with potentially devastating consequences. European leaders have united, insisting Ukraine must be at the table for any peace deal. In joint statements, France, Britain, Germany, and others warn against a settlement imposed over Kiev's head. Their terms: a verifiable ceasefire first, no changes to borders by force, and reciprocity if any territory is swapped. Europe fears legitimizing Russia's gains would destabilize the continent and encourage future aggression. The EU's unified stance is a crucial counterweight to US and Russian maneuvering. Europe has borne much of the war's humanitarian cost and demands a just, not expedient peace. Their message to Washington and Moscow: lasting peace in Europe can't violate Ukraine's sovereignty. European pressure will shape the summit's outcome. The principle of no decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine is non-negotiable. The Alaska summit's outcome, a pivotal moment in international diplomacy, carries implications that stretch far beyond the immediate participants, will reverberate far beyond the US and Russia, influencing global power dynamics and alliances. The decisions made and the agreements forged will have a ripple effect across continents, with China, a major player on the world stage, carefully analyzing every nuance and potential shift in the balance of power. Iran, a nation facing its own set of geopolitical challenges, assessing the implications for its regional strategy and international relations, and North Korea watching closely, seeking opportunities to advance their own agendas and navigate the evolving global landscape. China has kept Russia afloat by buying oil, providing a crucial economic lifeline amidst international sanctions and economic pressures, and supplying tech, filling critical gaps in Russia's industrial and technological capabilities, while Iran and North Korea have armed Moscow with drones, providing crucial battlefield assets that have significantly impacted the conflict's dynamics, and missiles, bolstering Russia's military capabilities and extending its reach. Any deal easing sanctions on Russia would benefit this bloc, providing much-needed economic relief and potentially emboldening their actions on the global stage, strengthening their challenge to the West and potentially accelerating the shift towards a multipolar world order. China's response will be shaped by how the summit and its resulting agreements affects its own ambitions, especially regarding Taiwan and its strategic calculations in the Indo-Pacific region. Iran and North Korea's military ties with Russia complicate any peace, adding another layer of complexity to the already intricate geopolitical landscape. As they seek advanced technology in return, potentially acquiring capabilities that could further destabilize regional security. The deepening alliance among these states poses a long-term global threat, requiring a coordinated and comprehensive response from the international community. Any peace must address not just Ukraine, but also the underlying factors that have fueled this conflict and the broader implications for global security. But the broader security risks unleashed by this conflict, including the proliferation of advanced weaponry and the erosion of international norms. The summit is as much about global order and the future of international relations as it is about Ukraine, representing a critical juncture in the ongoing struggle to shape the 21st century. The summit's core dilemma: should a ceasefire come before a territorial settlement or vice versa? Russia demands Ukraine cede Donbas before fighting stops, a non-starter for Kyiv. Ukraine and Europe insist on a ceasefire first, freezing the front lines before negotiating territory. Trump's territory swap proposal tries to bridge the gap, linking a ceasefire to a pre-agreed land exchange. But defining which territories to swap is fraught with risk and emotion. Neither side trusts the other to make the first move. Putin wants guarantees before halting his offensive. Zelensky can't concede land under fire or without security assurances. Trump must find a formula that breaks the deadlock without rewarding aggression or betraying Ukraine. The sequencing of peace, land or ceasefire first, will decide the summit's fate. The path to peace is narrow, with Russia demanding recognition of its gains and Ukraine fighting for survival. Trust is nearly non-existent. Ukraine fears any deal without strong Western guarantees. A simple ceasefire could let Russia regroup for future attacks. Yet the summit signals both sides may see total victory as too costly. Trump's unconventional approach could disrupt the stalemate, but risks remain high. A full peace deal is unlikely, but a durable ceasefire and a framework for future talks would be a real achievement. If Trump and Putin can agree on even a basic process, including Ukraine, it could mark a turning point. The world watches, hoping this summit starts the long road to peace, not another cycle of conflict. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Join the conversation in the comments below and let us know your thoughts on the summit and its global impact.